Hello, everybody. My name is Kesia Rust, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Affordable Housing Finance in Africa. And I am here with my colleague, Thandiwe. Thandiwe, as I'm sure you all know, is the Program Manager for the African Union for Housing Finance. And CAF has a really nice partnership with the AUHF. We act as the AUHF Secretariat to promote the networking and the collaboration between colleagues within the AUHF and then across the continent. We are thrilled that we have a lovely lineup of speakers today who are joining us to talk about this very important issue now at the tail end of Women's Month, International Women's Month. And it's a topic that I struggle with myself. Because everybody needs housing. But I think what's such an important part of this question that we're talking about is that each of us, male, female, children, adults, across the breadth, on the demand side and the supply side, engage in different ways. And there are very interesting opportunities to be found in engaging with and working with women in particular, both as housing suppliers as well as housing consumers, and to understand the opportunities that exist, and then to design our products and services, our policies, our regulations, to further enable the active participation of women in their housing circumstances, in the housing production, and then, of course, also housing consumption, as owners, as renters, as occupants, and so on. So we've got perspectives from quite a wide array of people today who are going to present and give their perspectives. I'd like to welcome everybody in the room to please jot your questions down. There's the Q&A function, which you can use, or you can put them in the chat. I will do my best to navigate between them and to see if we can feed those in to the speakers as they present. We want to keep this short and sharp, just an hour, so that you'll welcome us back into your virtual rooms again when we talk about the next topic, so that this is just a good opportunity to spend an hour talking about this very important topic. So without greater ado, our first speaker is May Abdelhamid from the Social Housing Mortgage and Finance Fund based in Egypt. And May is an active member of the African Union for Housing Finance. The Social Housing Mortgage Finance Fund is an active member, and May has been a very significant contributor. We were with May 2 years ago in Cairo for our AUHF conference, which was wonderful. And May, you have a presentation you'd like to give now. We have just 10 minutes, and I'm going to hold you for time, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
All right.
Okay, shall I start?
Please do. Please do.
Okay, just a quick brief about myself. I'm the CEO of the Social Housing and Mortgage Finance Fund in Egypt. I'm also a director at the African Union for Housing Finance and the first woman to join AUHF board. I'm a board member in several financial and real estate entities here in Egypt, such as Saib Bank, City Edge Development Company, Hyde Park Development Company, Board of Trustees for Investment of Social Public Insurance Fund, and also a board member of the Urban Development Fund. Okay. What are the housing challenges I was facing before launching our program, Housing for All Egyptians? We had a very high market demand, high annual population growth estimated at 2%. We had an increasing housing demand accumulated and an accumulated deficit of unsatisfied demand estimated at 1 million housing units for low income. We had very high house prices compared to average incomes of the population. We had the poor availability of adequate formal units that are connected to basic services and infrastructure, which we can allocate to poor households, including those headed by women. We had definitely some social needs and challenges. We had cultural barriers limiting women's ability to hold unit rights independently from their husbands or their male relatives, like father or so. We had the inability of self-employed to obtain a mortgage. We had an existing housing stock that was inappropriate for citizens with special need. And we had limited financial literacy of the targeted low-income citizens, including women. On the mortgage side, we had a lot of limitations on the mortgage tool. So we had high inflation rates and accordingly high interest rates between 20 to 24. Now the interest rates are approaching 28 these days. We had limited volume of housing finance on Egyptian banks' balance sheets due to difficulties in registering housing mortgages and inability to implement foreclosure in cases of default. So before launching the program, we had to structure something that deals with all those challenges. What we have managed so far after 10 years from launching the program, we have managed to improve the living conditions for low-income households by offering houses to them. We managed to empower women to own their houses through long-term funding and finance. We managed to include all citizens category to live in sustainable communities. We managed to provide different forms of subsidized finance to improve citizens' affordability to enable them to own their housing units. We also managed to provide cash subsidy to reduce the down payment burden of the applicants. We managed to expand the program targets and shift also towards green. We also managed to cooperate nationally and internationally with lenders, donors to improve the program performance. Our contribution in addressing those challenges, we addressed the market demand through signing loan agreements with international and national banks to finance the program. One of the outstanding agreements we had was a loan agreement signed with the World Bank for 1 billion to provide the necessary upfront down payment subsidy and finance affordable housing to low-income households. We managed to get the financing needed to construct and allocate over 661,000 affordable decent housing unit connected with all needed services and infrastructures. And those pictures at the left show the houses themselves from the cities we are building. We have managed up till now to provide 297 million cash subsidy to beneficiaries to raise their purchasing power to enable them to own their housing unit. We managed to provide the direct demand side subsidy gradated according to beneficiaries' incomes and ranges, and those are the solutions we had to address the affordability challenges. We provided beneficiaries with units to accommodate their different family needs. So we had 390 square meter and 75 square meter units, including 3 and 2 rooms, plus the reception area and the kitchen and the bathroom and the balcony. This helped definitely to improve household living conditions for more than 2 million households, since we managed to deliver to 560,000 beneficiaries in those past 9 or 10 years. We reduced gender inequality through giving priority to women and giving them equal opportunities to hold unit rights independently from their husbands or male relatives. We started the program. We had very limited number of women applying, or usually the application was in the name of men, but we managed all through imposing standard conditions that necessitates that if the woman income is part of the loan, we had to put her name in the contract, whether as a co-lender or a co-beneficiary with her husband, or if she is heading the household and she is using her income to pay the down payment and the monthly installment. So the contract has to be in the name of the woman. At the left side, we have Azza here, a 36-year-old divorced and mother of two, and her own testimony is owning my own apartment gives me a sense of security and stability. I'm finally paying money for the sake of securing an asset for my two girls. This is something that was a dream for a lot of women, and that they were never able to achieve before the launch of the program. With the standard conditions we managed to insert in the general conditions of the program. We managed also to reduce urban inequality and include all citizens categories to live in decent, safe, sustainable communities in new cities away from pollution, and providing them with equal opportunities to obtain affordable housing unit. And based some numbers to verify this, at that the percentage of self-employed and informal income category included 21% now of total beneficiaries. People with special needs category also were allocated 5% of each new project. We also managed to negotiate with the central bank and the Ministry of Finance to provide low interest rate loans, 7 to 8%, through the program, the different ads we had, the 17 ads we had across the past 8 or 9 years. And the installments are paid over 20 years for applicants, and we cover the interest rate differential with market rates to the banks. We cooperated with 31 financing entities to avail the needed finance for the beneficiaries in the program, and compared to 4 banks at the beginning of the program. We had different initiatives, and we managed with the Central Bank of Egypt to introduce a unified eligibility criteria for reviewing income levels periodically and investigating applicants' I-score and income levels and ownership status before underwriting the loan. So we partially underwrite the loan before sending it to the banks. We managed also to streamline the mortgage registration process through notary publics, and this is encouraged banks very much to expand in lending to low income categories. We also managed to shift towards green since 2018. We've been studying to try to shift towards green, and since we are the largest builder of public housing in the country, we felt a real responsibility and need to shift more towards green. So I can say I have managed to launch the first green affordable housing initiative for low income households in Egypt and Africa, targeting building 55,000 units in 5 new cities, and taking into consideration all the expected environmental, social, and economic aspect. We aim to ensure healthy life, increase well-being for all citizens through using eco-friendly building materials to build resilient and sustainable housing units, and achieve energy efficiency using green pyramids and edge rating system. We are cooperating with the IFC to provide training courses for engineers and contractors to obtain green licenses. And we also launched a campaign at one of our projects in New Capital Garden to emphasize the importance of transformation towards a green path, and to ensure applying habits that will contribute in rationalizing the energy consumption. On women's life condition, according to 2019 Women's Economic Empowerment Study findings, we had only 5% of women in Egypt owning assets either alone or jointly, versus 95% for men. And thus I worked on facilitating the process of owning the housing units for women applying in the program, with a strong belief that this will play a crucial role in transforming women's life. So we provide women with more stable and safe life and equal access to own property independently, regardless of being male or female. We reduced the commuting time of women to their employment by increasing proximity to schools, medical facilities, transport, and road networks. I think when we were here in Cairo, we had a chance to visit the school and kindergartens that are surrounding the projects, and the women mostly work in the same neighborhood where they moved. We also improved their property and inheritance rights, their earnings and chances of employment by moving them into new economic centers that were created, enhancing their children's health and performance at school, and increasing their potential contribution to economic growth. I think the final slide would be that we are trying also to empower women at the level of the organization here. I've been heading this organization for the past 10 years, and this has created a lot of stability and empowerment to coordinate with all the stakeholders. I also relied on women as leaders and as employees, and we have been struggling all through to make sure that we improve the ranking of female employees at HMFF, and trying to approach the female ratio with the males. In 2024 now, the employees, the women employees are 42% of the total number of employees. We are 248 here in the fund, and the 42% are distributed according to job grades, and a lot of them are at a managerial high level. Thank you so much. And these are our website and Facebook page and so on if you need more details.
That's excellent, May. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's such an interesting and detailed program that you have with so many different facets. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions that'll come out over the course of the discussion. I think I have one question for you, and that relates to the data, gender disaggregated data. Are you working with your partners and requiring them to report on their data disaggregated by gender? Loans
Definitely.
to men, loans to women, and so on. Are you tracking that now over time? You are.
Yeah, sure. We track this on a daily basis, and this is something that is issued in our reports. We have, we have a workflow system that we use with the banks, so we get all the applications online, and then there are boxes when the applicants apply that show men and women who are applying, and then the workflow through the banks. When the banks book, we see the booking, and this is segregated by male or female, so we get this out of our system easily in the different stages of up till making the loan available. So how many women applied for the program, and how many of them were rejected, and how many of them were accepted, and this is where I get the number of 23%. We also and the system is a necessity to make you see if there are bottlenecks. So at the beginning of the program, for instance, we have been seeing that the informal income and the women were not taking enough care of, or the banks have high rejection rates for them, and this has helped us start a discussion with the central bank to try to come up with unified criteria allowing equal rights, and imposing on bank, if they are going to lend a household with a man and a woman, to get their names both on the contracts so that they can get access to the flat. So this was a crucial thing to make it happen.
May, there's a case study here. We're going to come back to you because this needs to be shared more widely. And I think just the methodology that you're following in terms of collecting the data and then using that to actually inform your own policies internally and then wider, we'll come back to you for that. Thank you so much. That's really interesting.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you.
I'd like to now move on. We have two colleagues from Urbamonde Urbasen. So Benedicta Hinchenberger from Urbamonde, based in France, excuse me, and Papa Ahmed Keita from Urbasen, based in Senegal. And the two of you are working together. We're very interested to hear what you have to say. I understand you also have a video you want to share with us.
Yes, exactly. So the project we want to introduce today, and we first thank you for the opportunity to explain all this today. It's a very good opportunity for us. It's a smaller scale project than what has been presented by Ms. Hamid. I'm afraid that we'll not be able to speak as fast as she just did. So we will go at
No
lower
one can
pace.
speak as fast as May. No one.
Okay. That's it. So I'm gonna share my screen. Let's try this. And this. Is it okay like this? Can you show my? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. It's beautiful.
Okay. So the project we are going to speak about is named Projet Cité FSH in French. FSH is the Senegalese Federation of Inhabitants. So the project is implemented by Urbasen. Pape Keita is going to introduce himself by this Federation of Inhabitants and Urbamonde. I can introduce myself in a few words. Urbamonde is a French and Swiss NGO. We are bringing technical support to many partners, local partners throughout the world. For me, I'm working especially with the African partners, such as Urbasen and the FSH, but some of my colleagues are dealing with South Africa, South America, sorry, Asia, and so on. And I can give the floor to Keita to introduce himself in a few words.
Okay, thank you very much, Benedict. And we apologize for our level of English. Sure you're going to understand. And okay, Urbasen is a local NGO working with the Federation of Inhabitants. They are about 20,000 now in different groupments, federated. And maybe 96% of the members are women, and we're working on them to support them in livelihood projects, habitat projects, and so on, supporting them to adapt also to the climate through our different projects. Okay, and Urbasen is a partner of that Federation of Inhabitants, and all of us, we are technically supported by Urbamonde France. Okay, Benedict,
yeah, the way we wanted to introduce or to give some elements of context is by showing you a video that has been made last year as Urbasen and the FSH received the golden medal by World Habitat. They were awarded that gold award last year at the end of 2022 to recognize their experience, 15 years of experience working with the communities in a very participative approach to lead urban planning and habitat renovation. So instead of speaking too much, I will show you this video if you agree. Sorry. I will show it through, yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
50,2% de la population urbaine d'Afrique subsaharienne vit dans un quartier précaire, ce qui représente plus du double de la moyenne mondiale. Ces quartiers précaires sont très vulnérables face au changement climatique. Depuis 2007, à la suite d'inondations sans précédent, des leaders communautaires des quartiers défavorisés de la banlieue ont commencé à se mobiliser pour trouver des solutions durables. L'ONG sénégalaise Urbasen est née de cette expérience et accompagne des habitants afin d'apporter des réponses aux problèmes des populations défavorisées. La Fédération sénégalaise des habitants est au cœur du dispositif de mise en œuvre de ces projets et programmes. Elle compte 622 groupes d'épargne, soit environ 20 000 membres, dont 96% sont des femmes. L'intervention de Urbasen touche tous les domaines intéressant la vie des habitants en milieu urbain. La planification urbaine participative, la restructuration et la régularisation foncière, les travaux cartographiques, la collecte et la digitalisation de données, la réalisation d'ouvrages d'assainissement individuel, et semi-collectifs, la reconstruction post-inondation de l'habitat, l'aménagement d'espaces publics, d'espaces récréatifs pour les enfants, la formation et le renforcement de capacités, l'accompagnement pour le développement d'activités génératrices de revenus. Les deux structures disposent d'un outil de financement alternatif de l'habitat, appelé fonds rotatif, un mécanisme de financement solidaire, pérenne et autogéré, financé depuis 2014 par différents bailleurs. Ainsi, à travers une base de données appelée Urba Database, les membres de groupement de la FSH bénéficient de financements pour la reconstruction de leur habitat, le renforcement des activités génératrices de revenus et le cofinancement de microprojets communautaires à l'échelle de la rue dans plusieurs communes d'intervention. Urbasen et la Fédération sénégalaise des habitants travaillent à partager leurs expériences fructueuses auprès d'ONG et de fédérations d'habitants au Bénin, au Burkina Faso, en Guinée-Bissau ou encore au Togo afin que d'autres initiatives similaires puissent émerger et se consolider. Ces dernières années, Urbasen et la Fédération sénégalaise des habitants ont développé une filière de matériaux de construction écologique à base de terre et de TIFA. Une soixantaine de jeunes ont été formés sur la chaîne de production des matériaux locaux. En plus de la réhabilitation de l'habitat, Urbasen et la Fédération sénégalaise des habitants mettent en œuvre un projet phare de construction à neuf d'habitat au profit des membres de la FSH. Il s'agit de la création d'un écoquartier de 140 maisons et d'équipements construits avec des matériaux écologiques dans la commune de Diender, en périphérie de Dakar. Pour y arriver, l'élaboration du programme urbain et architectural de la cité FSH associe depuis 2019 les futurs habitants et habitantes et les équipes techniques d'Urbasen et d'Urbamonde. Elle compte démontrer que des femmes aux revenus modestes, mais unies et organisées, peuvent vivre dignement dans des logements qui contribuent en même temps à la lutte de l'humanité contre le changement climatique.
Okay, here we are. Nice.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, I changed again. Can you see my screen again? Okay. Let's go on. So I hope that thanks to this video, you understood the origin of the project we are going to speak about. I'm going to leave Keita explain, but I think you had several information about the project in the video. It is only just, it's the same as what is mentioned in the video as a project of 140 housing units, but now we know that we could build, we will be able to build 150 or even 152. So it's the same project as the one that is mentioned at the end of the video. Keita?
Thank you very much, Benedict. I'm just going to present the zone where our project is situated. It is in the suburbs of Dakar, at the limits of the Dakar region. As you see in another region called Chess. The area is attractive, it is dynamic, with many economic opportunities, because it is a new zone, a new area of where people are going to install. It was a bit difficult to find land in Dakar because it is very expensive, and we were not given land. And we wanted a good area for these vulnerable women. So we bought our land here from our own savings. We bought a land of 4 hectares where we are going now to build that city. Okay, Bene?
Yes, you can go on. With the project ambitions, or you want me to present? Okay, I can do it. So the project ambitions are as follow. The first one is like a societal ambition, since we intend to develop a project that could be replicable to build housing and as a housing and urban production model. So that means that we are trying to modelize that project and make it replicable. It is a social project, since it is aimed at producing 150 affordable housing units for households, mainly women that are active in the informal sector. So that means that they have low and irregular resources, and the economic model of the project is based on this reality. But we want to offer them a permanent security, the permanent security of land tenure, since they don't have it, they don't have had it until now. The process in which the project is led is very participative, since the urban project has been planned and will be managed by its residents. And it is also anti-speculative, since it is based on the principle of collective ownership of the land and individual ownership of the houses. And last but not least, the environmental ambition is very strong, since the project aims at reducing the the design, aims at reducing the environmental impact of housing project. And it has been recognized by the Senegalese state as part of the 100,000 housing units program of the state. And it is also recognized, labeled as an eco-quartier, that means eco-district, by the French government. Very quickly, the operational organization is as such. The federation, the inhabitants federation, has created a cooperative to be the developer and owner of this city. The federation itself serves at mobilizing the residents, organizing their savings, and also the federation will manage the some social support, social and economic support for households when they will get their housing. Urbasen is positioned as a delegated project manager supporting the cooperative. They are in charge of the project management. And Urbamon, the NGO for which I'm working, is positioned as a technical partner to support the whole project and promote it as we are doing today. Keita, ou je continue?
Yes, go on.
Okay, so to give you some details about the program itself, it will propose, or it will the aim is to build 152 plots, 152 houses with for each a plot of 150 square meters for each. It will also include some public facilities designed to answer the needs of the area. The very strong principle at the core is to keep very wide public spaces, green public spaces, and the eco-district principles leads also to use sustainable materials, to work on a bioclimatic design, and to work also on the universal accessibility. And this is to show you the plan as it is for now. So to produce very affordable housing units, actually it needs to be small. So what will be delivered to each household is a very small house, about 50 square meters, but with a very wide empty space in the backyard, so that each household can extend its house according to its needs during the time. So the architectural design is thought to be to enable this adaptability and this evolution throughout the time. And it has also very strong bioclimatic design and criteria. We have worked on the orientation, the ventilation, and on using biosourced materials that will be produced on site in a small semi-industrial unit. Keita, je te laisse la parole pour ça.
No, just to add that we have different models, and this one is the simplest. We have other models with 2 rooms and a living room. We have also 1 room and a living room. We have 3 models, and the women will have to choose by themselves the one they want, according also to the means they have.
Estimated cost of each house is now estimated at around 11 million of francs CFA. That means 16,000 euros, excluding sanitation. And of course, we will have to include some other costs, such as sanitation, the cost of the earth brick production unit, and the cost of the public space development. Regarding this, or to compare with those costs, we know that we can combine several potential resources, types of resources. First, each household has already gathered some savings, so each household will benefit and will use these savings for himself. We also know that each household will be able to get an individual loan from the rotative fund that is managed by the FSH. And we know that each household, each woman has a repayment capacity estimated around 50 to 80,000 francs CFA per month. We hope to convince some banks to give a collective loan to the cooperative FSH. So that's the current task we are working on, to convince some banks to elaborate that kind of loan for cooperative. We already have the support of the Senegalese state that will cover the servicing costs. And we are also dealing with some international donors to get some grants for this project. We know for sure that this kind of project needs a mix of resources to guarantee its financial security and its success. And so we know that we have to convince those different stakeholders to participate and to support that project. So to finish with this last slide, what we know is now...
To finish with the needs quickly. The needs to make this project organized. The project is finance, technical expertise, and technical support too. We are looking for allocation to the revolving fund to strengthen it, because that revolving fund is the basis of our financial system. But the bank loans to cooperative, we are negotiating with some banks and international donors. We need also expertise to reinforce Urbasen's team in the elaboration of financial models, in the finalization of plans, or to organize the production of material. Support also from the different government departments and agencies, but also technical partners here to disseminate the model and share the best practices. Here you'll have the city presented, and now our contacts for further informations. You can, I think, present the last slides, okay, for further information or to contact us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, both of you. That was excellent and so interesting. And there are few questions that have come up onto the chat, which maybe you can look at as you as we carry on. From my perspective, I would love to hear a longer presentation from you on this, because there's so much to talk about and so many links that are being made, and you're really pulling together like a multifaceted set of objectives to achieve this, and then a very strong representation of the importance for women in this context. So thank you so much for that. I'd like to move on now, and everyone's been very patient, but I'd like to move on now to Esther Seguero, please, from Women in Real Estate, which is a group of women professionals working in real estate based in Kenya, otherwise known as WIRE. Esther, would you like to come and turn on your camera so we can see you?
Yes,
if we
absolutely.
And then share your insights.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you
Maybe
so
reflect
much.
on what you've heard as well, if you'd like to.
Yes, thank you so much. Tandiwe, if you can just share my presentation in the background. I won't necessarily go through it slide by slide. So my name is Esther Seguero. I am a civil engineer by profession. I also lead the construction department of an company called NBST Africa. I have an MBA in finance, a diploma in sustainability, and I serve as the president of Women in Real Estate Society, Kenya. Now, on affordable housing, I was the design engineer for Karibu Homes, which won the African Property Investment Award in 2019. And I have worked on several projects, Bachelor's Jivanji, Old Ngara, police housing, and just very recently, I am the structural engineer for Zima Homes. Zima Homes has also won the Best Affordable Housing Project at API Awards 2023. So I'll just give you a short introduction to WIRE and who we are. WIRE started in 2016, and it started with a group of women that would meet regularly to play football. But they were all in the built environment or in the construction industry. There was a planner, there was an architect, there was a valuer, there was a marketer. So they came together and said, okay, in this landscape, there is no organization that really caters to or brings together all the women players in the construction industry. And that's how WIRE came about. And WIRE's mission then just becomes to network, to share, and to grow the team of women. Now, I'm going to discuss some wins and some challenges and what we need in terms of support and strategies that are most effective, and then just give a parting shot. I'm going to try very much to stick within the time or less. So very quickly, currently the landscape in Kenya is very much focused on affordable housing. And this is one of the president's biggest pillar. We just last week, the signing into law, the Affordable Housing Act. And there is also a need. They're saying that the plan is to grow the housing and affordable housing from 2% to 50% in 2027. That is 3 years away. That's like less than 1,000 days away to grow it by that magnitude. So the landscape very much supports building and construction. And now I'm just going to discuss with you what WIRE does and how women fit into all this. So I will start with some of the challenges. I'd like to highlight the challenges and highlight the wins. One of the biggest challenges that we've seen as WIRE, as an organization that focuses on networking, business development, industry research, and advocacy, is that sexual harassment is very high in the construction industry. In a research we did in 2020, we found that 92% of the women interviewed had reported that they had been victims of like sexual harassment on construction site. 64% of those happened at the construction site, others took place at the office, in school. And then out of the people that were harassed, only 40% told their family or friends. 5% and less reported this issue to any authority figure. So it's become a very big challenge in Kenya, and the studies we do around sexual harassment on site. Then, of course, there's the issue of PPE and fitting and health and safety around women that work on construction sites. Most of what is designed in terms of PPE is designed for men. And then there's also another challenge where we currently have so many policies in Kenya that support the growth of women. We have the AGPO that says give 30% to youth and women. We have the internship policies which say that if you offer internships to students, to young people, the government does give you tax incentives. Now, most of these policies are dormant and are not in use, although they've been written. And so WIRE is trying to put all these policies together and reactivate them. Then another issue is definitely training. 80% of the workforce in the construction industry in Kenya is not trained. Only 20% are trained. The rest are just learning from site experience, and that really just affects the quality of workmanship. And then I'll go into the wins for WIRE. So last year, the president and one of the organizations that are our members, BuildHer, they managed to sign an MOU with the developer to have the female artisans provide all the tiling and cabinetry work in one of the affordable housings in Kenya, called Starehe. Then WIRE itself, we currently co-chair a committee on affordable housing with the State Department of Housing and Urban Development. So in this, we are able to affect some of the policy that goes out when they're looking for consortiums to put together affordable housing. Then another very big win for us is that we have been able within our networks to grow even women that work on PPE, that design clothes and aprons and overalls that are fit for women. And another good win is that when we started to do our policies and plans and research, we carry out an industry research every year and release a report on the state of women in construction. When we started in 2021, we were at 3%. Currently, the number of women in construction in Kenya is at averagely 11%. Artisans are at 3%, but the general average, including professionals, is 11%. Then another big win currently for women in Kenya and in affordable housing is that a lot of the industry leaders at the moment at the top of organizations are women. Just recently, with the signing of the affordable housing bill in Kenya, the president appointed a chairperson to head the board and the fund, which is set to collect between 60 to 78 billion shillings for affordable housing. And very fortunately, this is a lady, Dr. Lillian. The Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing also falls under a woman, Ms. Alice Wahome. The Project Manager Institute Kenya is headed by a woman. The KEPSA, Kenya Private Sector Alliance CEO, is also a woman. The Women in Technology organization is led by a woman. The Kenya Green Building Society CEO is also a lady. The Architectural Association of Kenya is led by a woman. The Institute of Quantity Surveyors of Kenya is also led by a woman. So we are seeing at least 70% of the associations and organizations currently in construction being led by women. Now, this is a plus for us because it allows us, and most of these women and associations I'm talking about are also members of WIRE. So it makes the round table easier. We can easily congregate, and we hope that with that camaraderie, we can do a lot more in terms of ensuring there's more women in the industry and just championing for women. Now, in terms of support, we could get support in terms of data research. We always want to reach out to other organizations to give us data that supports our case, because we want to talk from a point of data. Then some of the strategies we find that are most effective is training. For example, Build Her has last year trained about 192 women in joinery, in tiling, in painting. Now, because their skill is so much better, when they go and work somewhere, their work shows, as opposed to majority of the industry, which does not get any kind of training. Then knowing your staff, we advocate for the women to really know their craft. In affordable housing, they're looking for the easiest solutions. So they're looking for innovative solutions. They're looking to do very many high towers. So we need women that really understand the technical aspects. We also ask women that do not be so secluded, work with others so that we create a community. And as well, we run programs on mentorship. We run programs because the change can be effected at primary school and high school before the people go into university. And I'll just finish off with maybe 2 pieces of data in our 2023-2024 research. When we did our research in campuses last year, we found that there's a school where the women, when they joined first year, they were 36. When they got to 6th year of architectural study, there was only 6 women. So we are trying to find out what happens in between, that we are not getting a lot of women transition into the job market, by also offering mentorship at university and at high school. The last piece of data is that we are having a lot of engagement with TVETs and artisans, the people that actually do the building. Last year, there was an enrollment of 1,400 people in TVETs, and out of those, 40 were women, and at the end of the year, there was only 36 women. So we've come up with a method, we're calling it, we are reactivating one of the policies by government that was going dormant, which was called the gender committees. In TVETs and training institutions, they're supposed to be a committee to find out what's happening to the women, how are they working? So together with a few other organizations, WIRE is leading and spearheading activation of the gender committees. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Esther. That is so inspiring. I noticed that on one of your slides where you listed your partners, there were 2 of those partners are actually members of the AUHF. And it struck me that you're not yet a member of the AUHF, and we'd love to welcome you to join us. And one of the things within that I got quite excited about, and hearing you talk about some of the research you've been doing and so on. We were in Namibia last year and worked with a lot of students who were at the Namibian University of Science and Technology. And it was mostly women who were presenting and engaging with us around that. And from that emerged the idea of a young professionals forum. And I think there's a nice link there between the work you're doing at, the things that you're doing at WIRE and the things, and this goal for a young urban professionals forum. So we'll make sure that that connection is made. I think what's so interesting about what you're saying is you're thinking about the ways in which women experience their participation in the real estate sector, whether it's on the design or the construction or whatever part of that process. And that really is an important thing, because as the sector diversifies and as more women become in, your point on sexual harassment, I suppose one would see that because there's ignorance around what women can do and how they operate and what is needed. It would be very good to hear what interventions you're making on the basis of that data. Are you able to do that in Kenya or in other countries? Maybe just a quick comment on that, and then we'll move to our last speaker.
Yes, absolutely. And just before I answer that, I'd just like to maybe appreciate in the comment section. I'm seeing the developer that actually is the first developer to sign an MOU with women artisans taking the bulk of the work, is also a participant. So that's really amazing. So yes, we do use our data, and we don't just use it. We use it mostly locally. We use it when we are trying to make government interventions. We use it in schools. We go back to the lecturers, to the teachers. We go back to the industry, and we also talk to companies, both private sector and public sector, and tell the leaders or the leadership of those companies that, hey, the numbers are not great, do more, do better, and support the workforce that you already have within the women. And we are seeing a lot of he for she, men that are stepping up and saying, okay, how can we support our staff? What kind of engagement do we need to make for them? And we're also seeing the government pull wire in a lot of the forums on affordable housing, which is great. We are seeing a lot of our data used in reports, in conversations, which is what we want it to be used in. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Well, we'd love to work with you further. You've got a whole lot of kudos being expressed in the chats, so enjoy those. There have been questions about whether or not we're sharing the presentations and the recording. We'd quite like to make the recording fully public, so we'll just confirm that with our speakers. But presentations, I think we can definitely share, and we'll do that. I'd now like to welcome our Vice Chairperson of the AUHF, Mildred Mutesa. Mildred, if you want to turn on your camera, it's lovely to have you here with us. Mildred is the managing director of the Zambia National Building Society and the Vice Chairperson of the AUHF. Over to you.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here, and thank you so much, AUHF. What a powerful presentation. I was just reflecting on the statistics that Esther was presenting. 92% of women on the site being sexually harassed, and only 40% having the courage to actually speak up. I took a different turn. I thought about obviously the theme for today, and in Zambia, particularly, we're celebrating Women's Month with a focus on invest in women, accelerate progress. So that's a theme that Zambia went with. And one thing that strikes me the most is the challenges that women face in terms of being included, whether it's in the construction industry, women in finance, women in manufacturing or mining. Really, the issue about being included is more or less the same. We struggle with the same things, and I thought this afternoon to be good to just delve into some of those fallacies and some of the things that are holding women back. So before I start, a little bit about Zambia National Building Society. So Zambia National Building Society is 100% owned by the government of the Republic of Zambia. Our main focus is mortgage finance, banking, and property. I can see Tandiwe is moving the slide. So we can just move to the next slide, Tandiwe. Yeah, so that's a little bit about the building finance. In terms of the next slide, we happy to say that in terms of mortgage finance, for 2 years in a row, we have been voted the best mortgage bank provider in Zambia, something that we're very proud of. And I must say that looking within the organization ourselves as Zambia National Building Society, unfortunately, in terms of women in participation at senior management level, it's really low. So just last weekend, we did launch a program. It's called Transform Her. And the program is intended to inspire young upcoming ladies within the institution for them to aspire to do greater things within the organization, but also to grow and be able to fly and move on to other paths. So I won't take much time. I can see that we've already run out of time. I just put in a fun fact there for the participants of today's webinar. And if we can move to the next slide, Tandiwe. According to a research done by McKinsey in 2015, did you know that by narrowing the global gender gap, there could be a great multi-trillion-dollar economic benefits to be shared, where 26% boost could be added to the global gross domestic profit by 2025. Now, that's a huge number. And for me, it affirms the importance of us having these discussions to, around Africa. What are we doing in our spaces? What can we do differently to ensure that we have both genders on the table discussing matters, whatever field you're in, and today, particularly women in housing finance. All right. So when I was asked the question by Keisha and Tandiwe and the AUHF to say, what are some of the impediments to growth in terms of the woman in housing finance? I wanted to focus a little bit about the women that are actually working in this particular sector, and hoping that you are one of them as you're on the webinar. So from my own experience, and this is my personal experience, speaking to various people within the Zambian industry, but also some of my other female colleagues. I have worked in manufacturing. So I used to work for a gas company, and it was like 80% male dominated. And I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers. Again, at the time I was there, we had one female partner and the rest were male partners. But so I noticed that some of the challenges that women face are not really restricted to the housing sector, but really cut across all the sectors. And when I look at some of the sources, number one is just ourselves as women introspecting, not having the confidence. So we have self-doubt. So we struggle with self-doubt. And then secondly, obviously operating, especially in Africa, we do have a culture issue that is tilted to male dominance. So really, we'll look at that as well. So I wanted to go into how as women we can overcome self-doubt. And there's something brilliant about Malala. If you go back to Malala, Tandiwe, thank you. So there's something, this young lady, for those of you who don't know her, was the world's youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner. And she won this Nobel Peace Prize because she survived a Taliban attack at her school. And, one of the profound statements that she spoke, and something I think is very relevant for every woman in every sector, is that I raise up my voice, not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. So one of the things that most of us struggle with is the confidence to just speak up. And I know we always second guessing ourselves. What if it's not relevant? What if somebody criticizes me? I think for women, we need to come to the table and be ready to converse, to have our voices heard. Attending interviews, and this is something we're discussing with the Transform Her program we launched on Saturday. We find that most of the young males, they will apply for an interview, and even if they don't have the prerequisite qualification or experience, they come in confident, believing that they can do the job. And you have so many other ladies that are qualified, have the experience, but are just scared to voice out. So one of the things that we can do is practice voicing out, and you can start in a safe space so that you don't feel so exposed. The next thing that I found very useful in my own career and my own experience is don't be afraid to raise your hand. So sometimes, I don't know how many of us are guilty of knowing a solution or having this brilliant idea, but because we are in this power-packed, male-dominated room in the boardroom or anywhere else, you kind of feel like, hey, maybe I should let other people speak. I can't speak. Again, I like what Melinda Gates, and she says, gender diversity is not just good for women, but it's good for everyone who wants results. And it's really important because the perspectives that different and diversity brings to the table is what will take the world to go forward and organizations to succeed. So that's something that we need to practice more as women, not being afraid to raise our hands. Some of the other things that I have also found useful, and these are some things that we were discussing even as we are launching our mentorship program within our building, within our company, which is a building society, is finding a mentor, an issue of I just need finding a mentor, someone you can talk to, someone you can trust, somebody who can help you through, who's gone through the space that you're going. And I know there are great people in the room like Keisha, Madam May, doing amazing things in Egypt. Just having a conversation, a 15 minutes conversation to understand how do they balance womanhood and work. How do they make, be a woman, be proud to be a woman with all the responsibilities and all the hustles and bustles, but still be able to bring your A game to work. So I find that having a mentor, somebody who can nurture you, is something that every woman should have. I think AUHF is a great source of mentorship because there's so many women doing great stuff. The other thing that women are scared of doing is talking about their success. So some women feel like talking about success is actually bragging. It is not. Unfortunately, if you're seated in the corner, you are hiding away, it's highly likely you may not proceed even in the profession, especially in the construction sector, which is male dominated. You must be able to track your success, be able to communicate your success so that you begin to grow in your career. I think lastly, it's just a reflection on it's a man's world. Is it really a man's world? Well, if you live in Africa and perhaps in some areas, probably yes, the culture there obviously disadvantages women in the workplace. We're seeing in Zambia more and more women rising to places of influence. Recently, we had one of the bigger banks appoint a female leader, which is great. We are seeing women coming more to the table. But one of the things that I find that makes women not to do as well in some cases, not all the time, is having the ability to ensure that we hone in on our skills. And then when we do so, when we show up at the table, we're then not scared to lift up our hands, to be part of the solution, to be able to share our ideas, even with our male folk. Initially, it can be scary. And from my own experience, sometimes people can think you may just be a pretty face or, you don't know much about the sector. And I experienced this quite a bit when I worked in the manufacturing sector. Where most of the jobs were engineering type jobs, and these jobs were mostly male dominated. So in that type of work situation, I believe that as women, we need to, number one, be ready to reinvent ourselves, make sure that we're excellent at our work, and make sure that we stay ahead of the table. So when you're in a place and you're talking to engineers, you may not be an engineer. I wasn't an engineer working with a group of engineers. I had to learn what it was about engineering. And so that when I show up at the table, I was able to have conversations, and you earn respect. When you earn respect, the issues of gender, whether a man or woman, begins to blare. And what people see is just a leader. People begin to see you for your skills, your expertise, and they don't see a woman. So I thought it would be great to remind ourselves that we need to invest in ourselves, in our skills, but also to make sure that we bring our A game to the table by researching, investing more, so that the other gender sees us as equals. And lastly, I just wanted to end with a quote. No one ever became a success without taking chances. One must be able to recognize the moment and seize it. And this is one of the quotes that I really like. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Keisha.
Thank you so much, Mildred. I mean, you talk about mentors. Very nice to have you with us. And I certainly learned quite a lot from you and your leadership in Zambia, and then also in the AUHF. Today's discussion has been so interesting because we've listened on the one hand to a couple presentations that looked at different kinds of affordable housing interventions that impact in a particular way on women, or that recognize that women are a distinct and specific part of the population that need attention. And then we've had some presentations on the role and the experience of women in the housing sector, and how to promote that at different levels, and how to engage it. I feel like the question's not yet answered, because we could carry on this conversation for a long time. We have come to the end of our time. There are a few questions in the chat. Benedicta and Keita, there's a question for you specifically on collateral. and how collateral gets managed. That's from Judith Sando. There are some other comments on work, for example, Build Her, which operates in Kenya. We are very keen to receive any questions that anybody has, and we'll forward them to the speakers or help find an answer. Keita or Benedicta, would you like to answer that question? How does collateral work in your context? We can do that very quickly. I'm going to squeeze it in because Judith asked specially.
Bene?
Keita. I'm not sure to understand the word in English. Sorry, collateral. That means the guarantee that has to be brought to get a loan. That's it.
Yeah, the security for the loan. It's if the loan defaults, you can access collateral. Do you?
But does that question apply to the rotative fund, the loans of the rotative fund, or was it asked about the bank loans in Senegal? That's what I don't understand.
It just says it's relating to the project itself. So how does Senegal handle the issues of collateral for such a project?
Alors Keita, je pense que c'est plus.
Alors moi, la question en anglais, là, je la comprends pas tellement. Donc, l'anglais est tellement compliqué. Et puis, la dame, elle parle très vite. Moi, j'arrive pas à cerner, en tout cas, ce qu'elle demande.
La question, c'est comment les banques garantissent les emprunts et le remboursement des emprunts au Sénégal? Quel type de garanties sont demandées au Sénégal par les banques?
Comment est-ce que?
Comment les banques garantissent, quel type de garantie les banques demandent pour l'obtention d'un prêt au Sénégal?
Moi, je comprends vraiment pas la question, Bené. Bon, elles n'ont qu'à nous envoyer toutes les questions écrites et puis nous, on enverra toutes les réponses. Comme ça, on comprendra. Parce que à l'oral, comme ça, c'est difficile, je ne comprends rien.
We can share our presentation and if anybody has some question to ask, we are available to answer, to be called or by email, anything. But it is difficult to answer this question now. If it was about the rotative fund, I would have answered that the loans are.
We will put you together. We'll put the two of you together. I think it's a good opportunity to. Judith is based in Tanzania, I believe. When we last met, which I think Judith must have been maybe 20 years ago, that's where she was. So we will make that connection. This is really what we're trying to do with the AUHF, is to find ways to connect people beyond officialdom. We work together. We want to talk about the practicalities of our experiences, whether those are experiences relate to legal frameworks or building and construction, or indeed our experience as people within the sector. So I've noted that there are some questions that haven't been responded to. We will make sure that each of you get your answer, or at least get access to an answer. I can't guarantee if it's satisfactory. And we really look forward to seeing you all at our next webinar. We'll communicate through our newsletter. I want to thank all of the speakers today for the contributions that you've made, and really valuable resources, and so good to be able to share them so that people can then share it with people who weren't able to come as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best, and all the best for the remainder of Women's Month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Happy Women's Month to all the women on the webinar.